Perry Pencil.
Hello, and welcome to Perry Pencil. It is time for me to sketch He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. This is one of my childhood favorites, and the reason why I selected He-Man is because he's very muscular, so I'm going to be dealing with how to sketch the anatomy using He-Man as a way and as a guide to get better at sketching and doing these type of characters when you draw. So let's jump in and let's get started in drawing He-Man. Now, as I rough things out, I usually always divide the page in half, which is very common in the way I think and when I do my process in drawing. As you see here, I lay out the skeletal structure or the mannequin structure of the figure, which would be He-Man. And normally in sketching or during the sketching process for me, I generally try to block the figure in as quick as possible. If you notice, I've put all the most important parts to me and measure out to even the arms, and of course the arms are straight, so it's not no foreshortening, meaning if he's not pointing towards you towards the camera or anything like that, you should be able to measure the arms and make sure that they are the same length and things like that. So as far as the musculature or the muscle aspect of He-Man, he's fairly beefy. There's different takes on it. The cartoon usually does a simplistic job when it comes to doing it because of animation, of course. So here I'm going to kind of follow that and go with it. So if you notice, I'm simply, when I'm sketching this, I'm outlining what is really not apparent. I have the oval for the body and like a box shape for the crotch area, circle for the knees and things like that, cylinders for the arms, like the bicep and tricep. So for his boots, if you notice, I use a half semicircle or some arcs here, and then when I'm blocking the foot in, there's a simple triangular shape at the bottom. And for the left foot, since it's kind of going out to his left a little bit away from his body, you see the instep, and that's more or less like an instep, a curve that you'll put in. So when we're doing this type of sketch, you want to be mindful of the positioning and proportion and things like that. This exercise pretty much is just to get an understanding of how to lay the figure down as quick as possible. And of course now I'm zoomed in to get a little closer look at He-Man's face and his hair and things like that. And notice you don't have to be particularly careful when you're sketching, because just to give you an understanding, in comic book illustration, the smaller the figures on the page, or you have an entire figure on the page, the detail isn't as important as, say, if it was a close-up of He-Man's face and his bust in a particular panel that's in the comic book. So that's why here you'll see me zoom in a little bit, so you can see at least what's going on while I'm working on this sketch. Ordinarily, if I'd have had the sketch zoomed out and you see his entire body, it'd be harder to see what's going on. So if you notice, I'm following it, trying to follow it to a letter. I have 3 strokes for the hair, 1 stroke on the right side of He-Man, and then now I'm adding some muscle toning on the bicep and tricep area, and a little bit of detail underneath the armpit. And so again, the process is being as simplistic as you possibly can when you're sketching, because it's an incomplete drawing. So it's okay if there's a bunch of sketch lines, things like that, when you're sketching, because it's not the cleanup process. That's a video for another time. So at this point, it's just pretty much focusing on what's important, is getting the figure down, what you want the figure to look like, what's the pose. So if you notice, of course, I wanted to concentrate on He-Man holding the sword, and that's one of the important pieces of He-Man's characteristic, is that he always wields the sword and holds it up and says the magical sayings in front of Castle Grayskull. So for some individuals, it may be difficult to draw this pose, so that's why I had it implemented, or put this in here rather, because most of the time when I do my how to draw videos, if you notice, I'll do a bust high drawing. Some of them are dynamic, but for the most part, you don't get a chance to see a character with his arm outstretched or something like that, and you don't get a chance to see what's really going on. And here adding some minor details to his bicep, tricep, and forearm. So now at this point I'm going to begin putting in the harness on his chest, and this is one of the things that he's most known for, because unlike Conan the Barbarian, he's often compared to Conan the Barbarian. He wears this harness on his chest, kind of like a protective piece in the front. And when I had the action figure a while ago, when I was much younger, you used to put the front portion on and then snap it in the back, so that way you could put the axe on the back of him. He came with an axe and a sword. But it was always cool looking to, you know, kind of see He-Man have that on him. It's almost like a protective chest piece or something. And during the sketching process, feel free at any given time to pause the video if it's time-lapsed or is moving a little bit too quick for your speed. There's nothing wrong with that. Taking the time to go ahead and pause it to catch up. And if you notice in the center of the chest plate that he's wearing, he has almost like a cross. It's a different kind of cross. It's not like a T, the letter T shape that you normally see when a cross is drawn. This is like a four-sided even type of thing, almost like a Chinese star. But this is more like a cross, as it has the four sides to it. I want to concentrate here on the differences between the statue to my left here of He-Man and what I'm actually doing on the actual sketch itself. The difference in the animation versus, let's say, the toy design has three squares, or if you notice on the bottom portion of the chest piece. The statue does not have that. So there's different variations of He-Man in which you'll see the difference between what's on his chest and on the four parts of what goes in the shoulders and his rib cage and on the statue. So that's the difference. I'm going to finish sketching out the sword going off the top of the page. Then I'm going to put some effects in here with the lightning as he holds aloft his magical sword. And the difference being is that when I'm sketching, it's pretty much abstract. You can always go back in later and make it cute, make it look better, what makes it stand out more, or make changes to it. But normally doing a sketch, it's rough. It doesn't have to be particularly decent or anything like that. Let me know what your thoughts are. Leave me a comment in the comment section. Give this drawing or sketch a like. Let me know if you know anything about He-Man and Master of the Universe. If you do not know, it's a cartoon from the 80s like Transformers, not equally as popular as Transformers and G.I. Joe, but it's nevertheless one of the 80s cartoons I grew up with. Let me know if you know about He-Man and you want to know about more characters in the He-Man Master of the Universe toy line. And that's going to complete this sketch of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe by pressing this round button at the bottom. Also, click on one of the 2 top videos at the top. Please like this video, tell a friend, and share it on Facebook. Thank you. Perry Pencil.